What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 18 of Sports Card Talk. We got Shaya in the house, we got Coleman in the house, but we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Eric Myers. You can find him on Instagram, Howley Hustle. Eric, thank you so much for coming on today.
No, you're welcome. I'm very grateful to be here.
Eric, your story getting into cards and just your progress throughout has been absolutely insane. For the viewers who don't know you, could you just give like a little bit of a background about how you got into the industry first off, and how your kind of passion grew through cards throughout the years?
You want accurate, the accurate.
I want everything.
You
I
want
want
the
the
real.
accurate story.
Okay. So, like everybody, about the age of 9, 10 years old, I embraced the industry and the sports, the passion as a kid. And then you grow up a little bit by the age 12, 13, 14. You find women, and they're a little bit prettier, right? So you venture off from the women. You venture off to the women, and then you kind of leave your childhood passion behind. Unfortunately for me, about the age of 15, 16, I grew up in a lower impoverished community, maybe kind of middle class ish, maybe. And I spun off into a lifestyle because I'm half Hispanic, and a lot of my family members were into drugs and alcohol. And I spun off big time, to the point to by the time I was 16, I started manufacturing methamphetamines and allegedly, importing narcotics from Mexico, from Monterey into Texas. I did that as well as manufacturing and sales of narcotics until I was 27, about 13 years. I amassed 17 arrests, 5 felonies, spent some time behind bars. The only thing I ended up with after all that was just a horrific addiction and one heck of a criminal background. Yeah, to the point to where I had been ostracized by my entire family, my parents, my sister, everybody that knew me, my friends pretty much had ostracized me. And I ended up homeless, living under a bridge for about a year and a half.
How old were you when this happened, the homelessness? How old were you
About
then?
24 to
Okay.
26, that 2-year period, about the age of 20, late 23, early 24 up to 26. And I was, living on park benches under the bridges and under the I-45 bridge in Dallas called Tent City. The whole thing, eating out of dumpsters, to the point to where like the highlight of my day then was going up to old ashtrays, going inside of grocery stores and seeing like half smoked cigarettes and taking those. That was literally like the greatest moments of my days at times. Fortunately enough, my mom every now and then would kind of keep touch and, give me a little bit of money, maybe get my hair cut once a month or two and try to keep me somewhat clean. I was able to get it together enough to get a day labor job, just getting paid by the day, doing electrical work, to where I was clean for a couple months for the first time in my life. And after 3 months of sobriety, I joined the Army. I was an infantry in the Scout, the United States Army.
How old were you when you joined the army? Just to
I
give
was
some
old. I was
context.
20. I was 28,
Okay.
almost right at 28. So I was really old going to basic training. Most people at 17, 18, 19 years old. I was the third oldest person in my training company. And after 4 years in the military, I ended up with a $15,000 military bonus. So fast forward, I'm about 30, 31, 32 years old. I get out of the military. I literally, at this point, remember, all I have is a criminal background and some electrical experience. I wasn't even a journeyman electrician at this time. I knew how to be a weapons engineer, which I wound up parlaying that into a director of operations for a multi-million-dollar company in my late 30s as a weapons engineer, electrical work, and drug use, right? So I was just dumb enough. I took my $15,000 military bonus. Mind you, I get out of the military. I'm renting a room from my aunt for $300 a month. I'm driving a $900 car. In the military, I only made $1,740 a month before taxes. So I brought home like $1,300 a month, right? I didn't have much saved up. All I had was that $15,000 bonus. And man, for the life of me, I have no idea. But I was just dumb enough to sit down and get on eBay one day. And I thought to myself, well, man, I used to collect these cards, like Jerry Rice rookie cards, raw, nothing graded, like when I was younger, right? And I had this money, and I was like, well, it'd be nice to get a couple nice cards for $300-400. And I lost like $4,000 in the process. I went from 15 to 11 grand. And I met a gentleman. I met a couple of nice gentlemen, but the one person who diligently changed my life, his name is Ryan Hank. You probably know him, M in Miracle on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's a whale in the industry. He was nice enough to kind of take me under his wing and show me the ropes, teach me what to do, what not to do. Granted, between God and my passion, that helped out, but he really kind of guided me
Yeah.
as a salesman and as a procurer of products, as well as a man. Because remember, I hadn't never evolved to be a good, productive human in
Yeah.
life. So he helped mentor me to like, yeah, I mean, you hear people say that man changed my life. This person changed my life. Like Ryan Hank, like he saved my life, man. I mean, I went from having nothing to, I mean, 7-figure person living on the beach, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And that's, so if you watch videos of me and Sasha and you hear that passion and that fire for cultivating relationships and building the rapport, put that in front of money. And it's always back to that. It's because that at the beginning when I had nothing, but I mean, literally nothing, there was a person who helped me and cultivated that relationship. And I'm a living product of that environment. And I think it's a moral imperative to cultivate that in life, you know.
So basically, from the point where he kind of took you under their wing, how was that process like from starting with 15,000, losing some money, and then kind of building up from there? Like, did you have a 9 to 5 as well during that time? Were you just into cards? Like, how was that going?
No, so I went back to being an apprentice electrician, making $12 an hour, living in my aunt's, and just grinding, hustling. Maybe taking this $300 card and a 400, 420 or something. You know, I embraced the fact that I lived in Dallas, so I know some people know SAPI and these bulk submitters. I became a bulk submitter, but for mid tier. You know, your $500 cards, $250 cards and up. Then I went up to $1,000 like bulk submitter for sub bump reviews, right? So I would do sub bumps, GCRs. And I was able to cultivate that relationship with the whales who would send me cards to ascend me up a little bit more. Some of them would cut me deals on some lower end cards here and there. I went from 15 to 11,000. Then it took about a year and a half to get to 23 to 27,000. Then about another year and a half to get to about 36, 40,000. So it took me 3 or 4 years to go from 15 grand to about 50,000. But to go from 50 to 80 and 80 to 100 only took like another 18 months. And once I hit year 5, I think, because you got to remember, this is, 14 years ago, right? So
Yeah.
100 grand is a ton, right? Once I hit 100 grand, it just, bro, it went, man. That's when that
Me and
first,
me and Coleman we always say like the first 100 grand's
yeah.
always the hardest, right? And then from there, it's like you kind of have you kind of know how the process works, and then it just kind of free flows from there, if you will.
Well, if you dissect it, digress a little bit. If you actually dissect your behavior patterns and your ROI potential, you pretty much were always looking for a 20 to 25 to 30% ROI. That's a lot different on $1,000 to $1,500 product versus when you're shifting 100 grand around, right? Then at that point, 20, 25, 30% ROI every few months, it adds up, man. That stuff starts paying. If you can make 15, 20, 30% now with the market today, you're 30, 50, 80%, 2, 3X in cards. That's different. But in the beginning, you were shooting for 25 to 30% max. If you were making 15%, that's good. And that's why they tell people the first $1 million you make is the hardest. After there, it's easy, right? You always hear the rich people say that. We look at it a little bit smaller scale. The first 100,000 is hard, but from there, you're refining. And Jordan Peterson, he's a person I listen to at times. He always talks about as you ascend up in some type of parabolic efficiency at whatever your craft is, right? The more you progress, also the more people you meet, and then the bigger your network becomes, as well as it becomes tighter. It becomes bigger in regards to how many people know you, but tighter in regards to the amount of people that open doors for you. It's just like failure. So for me, I didn't end up a drug addict. I started partying with my friends. Next thing you know, one thing spirals to the next. Same way on your ascension. The fall works the same way as the ascension. So the more successful you become, the more people you meet to help you become successful. And then it spirals up faster. So once you become worth 100 grand, you hit 2, 3, 4, and it's just onward,
Yeah.
There's so many great things in there. I just want to touch on a couple things. One is this was a while ago when the market wasn't this hot. So again, you were talking about going from 15K to 23K in like a year or something like that. Whereas like we're seeing people go from 15K to like
Week.
100K in like 3 months or a week or whatever. Right. Like, so, I mean, like it's tough because so many people are seeing what's happening right now and they just want to move so fast. And I think it is a disservice to them to see how fast things are moving for certain people right now, because they just don't want to have the understanding, put in the work, get the knowledge and everything like that, because they just want to they don't want to make that 10%. They don't want to make that 20%, when that is really what propels you to get to that place to where all of a sudden you're playing with 100K and you make 10 or 20% off of that, like through a bunch of deals, then you're making real money and stuff like that. And then also too, something about your story, Eric, which I think is really cool. And cause I just listened to your episode with Life with Style by Guy Vaught. And you went into a lot of this stuff too. You didn't go to as in depth with your personal history, which thank you for doing that. That's really, it really means a lot, because I
I
know how,
appreciate that.
hard it can be to talk about things like that. So I just want to say thank you for doing that. But what I find with people is, for some reason, some of the people that have the best energy or the most gratefulness or understand, have like a magnetic energy that I'm attracted to, are people that have built from nothing and understand that money is just a tool. It's not real. There's nothing inherently virtuous about it. Um, so, and I think that with your story, it just shows that when you come from nothing and you come from rock bottom and then you come to everything, you realize that you're still the same person, more or less. Or it isn't so much about the fact that you have money now. It's who are you? What like,
Yeah.
because that's the most important thing: your knowledge, your relationships, who you are as a person. You said it in that interview, which I loved: the fruit that you bear. What is the fruit that is coming off of your tree? Not what you say
Yeah.
or anything like that. And I find it I just see it all the time with these people that experience a lot of success from coming from nothing. They are just cut differently than people that have never experienced it. And yeah, man, I love the story. Absolutely love the story.
Yeah. God, it's it's difficult at times, right, to talk about it and to reminisce. I think I hustle and I mean, I wake up at 4:40 in the morning before I put my clothes on and doing this, and I do it up until I go to bed. And I work like I have a regular job. I don't do this for a living. People look at me like, man, you do that for a living? No, I do this 60 hours a week and work 40 hours a week. Like, I do it so much because, I mean, I talked to my wife about it at times about how, um, I work so hard, as almost as if I was eating out of a dumpster last week. Like I'm running from it. Like I'm still running out of it. So I think that's where that grind comes from, is because I do it almost as if like I was homeless a week ago. So I think that's where that passion comes from and that drive. But in the midst of it, like you had mentioned previously, the humanitarian aspect of it is that I realize incessantly the most thing I'm grateful for more than anything is I know where my next meal is going to come from, because I work so hard. People, I call it drunk off the money. People get drunk off the potential money for this.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a byproduct. That should never be your focus. I mean, you should wake up and go to bed making sure it's not your focus. Yes, it's okay. It's important to a degree, but dude, it should never be your main focus. Now, if you want to get a good deal, you don't want to pay over market. I get it. I understand that. But dude, if you can make $1,000 a month doing this, you're in a great spot, much less 5, 10, 15 a week.
Yeah. Eric, and you touched on it a bit about where you're kind of at today, but just to give some context to the viewers, you still have your other job and you're doing this full time, or is that basically the gist right now, or what's going
Yeah.
on?
So I actually I have 2 part-time jobs. I was a superintendent, a project manager for an electrical company.
Okay.
That digressed. So I got hired part-time for an IT company working on a startup that's going to be probably introduced to y'all in the next 6 to 8 months. I can't really go into much without the owner's permission about the startup company. It's in regards to the industry. It's a collaboration of joining things that are already pre-existing together, as well as a scanning tool to scan your cards for a personal assessment and to kind of give you a better projection of where it would go on a grading tier. And that's one aspect of what I do. Plus, I also have another job outside of the industry that I do as well. So I do those 2 jobs as well as this.
That's insane.
It is. It is. And my wife, she, my family, my whole family, my father, my mother, everybody, they get to me to a point to where, they just let me do what I do. I heard Gary Vee talk about it the other day about other people talking about your work balance and life balance. It's not for anybody else to judge, right? I work like this because I remember when I was 4 or 5 years old. It's hard to remember that far back, right, at my age. And you see little kids like that. They're playing with their toys in the living room. They don't want to go to bed because they just want to play all night. And they'll black out with a toy in their hand, want to play. Man, I hate going to bed at night because I can't wait to wake up to get over and do this again. And now I know what passion and love is in life, right? Like, I can't wait to wake up and do this whole day again tomorrow and try to grind like this. And I'm not lying. It kind of helps doing it from the sand, from the beach. It kind of helps.
The industry has moved so much in the last 3 years, as you know. What have you seen? Like, what is your opinion on what's going on in today's market right now? We're seeing celebrities getting into the game. We're seeing hedge funds getting into the game. We're seeing, big money just pouring into this industry. What are your thoughts of all that currently right now?
There's a time in life to talk and a time to listen and a time to watch. And I think we're all kind of unifying, those of us that are in the industry. We're realizing, hey, maybe this is the time to watch, because something seems uneasy, something seems acceptable, and you're okay with the way it's progressing, but then some part of it seems uneasy, right? So in life, there's a time to talk, time to listen, and time to watch. I feel it's a time to watch. I'm able to digest it and make it a little bit more palatable, if you will, because of the fact there is generational money as well as hedge fund and institutional money coming into it. Entertainment, athletes, they're getting into it. That'll stabilize it better. Understandable. This isn't an industry, after you've been in it for a decade and a half like me, this isn't a bubble. This is bubbles inside of bubbles. Whereas 1 or 2 players might pop, others won't, right? So where maybe Zion might pop, or I call it, for lack of better terms, the Blake Griffin effect. He's an amazing player, right? Nothing against Blake Griffin, but nobody cares about Blake Griffin anymore.
Blake Griffin cards aren't worth shit.
Right. And it's nothing against him. Like, he's a much better athlete than me, right? It's nothing against him. His cards aren't worth anything. Yeah. There's going to be 1,000 Blake Griffins for every one Kobe, LeBron, and MJ. To answer your question directly, just follow where your heart thinks you should be, right? Again, I went over this with Sasha. Where are you at on that wave, right? Don't chase that wave. If everybody's chasing that card, if your heart tells you maybe that thing's kind of overinflated, overpriced, you might miss the boat by not chasing it. That's cool, because all you're missing is money, right? If it's not a whale card you've always wanted, if it's not the item you've been chasing, or something I look at it this way. If the whole market goes to zero tomorrow, are you happy with what you have? Could you just be, are your items something that you love? Like, all of them. If they're not, make your margin move them. If everything went to zero, I got a ton in Kobe autos. I'm okay with all of them. I'm about to close the deal on a memorabilia item tonight or tomorrow. Yeah. I'll show that here soon, probably tomorrow after I agree to terms with it. And that I'm looking at things now to buy that if everything goes zero, be happy with that. But that's where that's my take on the market, man. Let's watch. Now's the time to watch where things are going. Because it could keep going great. There's going to be some stuff that, just let it ride by you, man. It's okay. Let's catch the next wave.
Yeah. On the last episode, me, Coleman, and Shaya were kind of getting into, the modern market, right? The Zions, the Lukas, the Trays of the world, kind of seeing this dip recently because there's a lot of money going into the LeBron, Kobe's, and Jordans of the world. Do you think that money's getting smarter? Whereas, okay, now all this new money coming in is going into the GOATs, or do you think that money is going to kind of flow back into the modern?
It's a recurring. A decade from now, you'll be able to look back and watch it. You'll be like, oh, I know where this is going. Right? It's the same cycle over and over. If you've only been into it for the last 3 or 4 years, you're watching it happen for the first time, right? And it'll happen. So a bunch of new money comes in, and it follows and makes this whole wave, and then it starts to evolve. It matures through its maturation process, right? And it kind of wakes up, as people in their 20s do, or wherever the money is. And then it goes, I need to go to more stability. And they'll go to stability and buy the things that it wants. keep some, let some of those go, and then another player will come out, right? So there'll be another hype, and then they'll kind of take that ROI, they'll jump, and it'll cause it over. It's constantly doing the same thing over and over, and it's doing it per sport, right? So there's a certain window of when to get in and out of each sport per season. That window pretty much is uniform. It's been there for years. The same thing with this, right? So the money will evolve. So I'd mentioned it before in the hedge fund. If you own a hedge fund and you're coming into a hedge fund, you see these people, they look at it. Those of us that have been into it know the way to have made that work. The fractional shares, if you will, right? They want to diversify as if they were in the stock market. No, that's not how that works here. The best thing to do if you own fractional share companies, come in 15, 20 million bucks. Imagine if you go back when they hit like in May of last year, right? When fractional shares started popping. Had you just taken $20 million and bought 20 million in Jordan rookies, Jordan PSA 10s? Like there's no way that wouldn't work. You have zero risk. But they started jumping in on Zion, jumping in on Luka, on Prism. Some of those people owning some of that stuff, it might work out, but it might be the Blake Griffin effect in 3 or 4 years, But the ones that won't fail are your Jordans, your Kobe's, LeBrons, right? Some of those, your Wilt Chamberlains, and that's why you see now Jerry Rice rookie just hit PSA 10, just sold for like $1.25. The stable ones, those are it's gonna be hype on so what happens is the new players, their prices soar, and everybody goes, look at where this is compared to these other players. And enough people realize that, and they're like, oh, all right, yeah, so let's sell this, right? And it kind of comes down and jumps over here. These go up to where they were, and now you can't afford these anymore. So you're like, well, these other players dip down, we're going to jump off this and go back there. And it's just this constant thing, just enjoy the ride.
I think we're seeing the money just even go to, like you're saying, it's going into all different, because right now MJ, LeBron, Kobe stuff is so high that now it's just shifting over into all the other, like what is something that is for sure safe, but we just haven't figured it out yet. I mean, I'm just seeing Chris Paul Topps Chrome PSA 10s go from 800 to 1300 in a week. I mean, because that's just like, because people are saying, oh, Hall of Famer, like still playing, like why is his stuff cheap? So I mean, like it's just turning over every rock and crevice right now, looking for where that value is.
What do you think, Shaya?
We've been talking about it. The market, yeah, I agree 100% with your point. The market, you just got to watch. Sash knows, Coleman knows. I have been watching. I have been waiting. I've been watching. I emphasized this in the last episode to be cautious, especially when buying a lot of the GOATs currently at this extremely high pricing. My personal opinion, I think we're going to move back to the modern in due time. I don't think base will see as hyped of a surge as we've seen in the past, because I think that facet, people have realized and looked at the pop and realized that bases, there's a lot of them, it's not worth it. But I do see us shifting more to the lower pop, modern, hobby color X cards. Because right now, the GOATs, I had a Jordan Fleer rookie BGS 8.5 offered to me. It was a fair price. But looking back at how much that card has risen, and I already haven't reaped the benefits of that whole surge, I don't want to be stuck with the hot potato and having to hold it or take a loss. I'm just willing to wait, watch that pass, and jump onto the next train or whatever it may be.
What he's
as
talking
you see
about,
it kind of happening,
Yeah. So I use the correlation with the wave, right? Shia noticed.
Hold on, real quick. I can interrupt. I borrowed that for the comeback card investor, and it was Eric Myers that I borrowed it from. I wanted to. I gotta give that reference because I couldn't think of your name when I was doing it.
Copyright disclaimer.
Feel free to use anything that I spit out there, really, for the rest of your life. I mean, honestly, I want whatever correlation you can convey to somebody, use as a reference to help get a message across that maybe helps them in their life. Feel free to use that forever. You don't have to. I mean, I appreciate the credit. Thank you so much. It's kind of cool to see somebody else, quote you. That's awesome.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Keep going on. Keep going on.
So Shia had mentioned that, where you at on the wave? He had noticed that he'd already seen it pass 3 or 4X, right? And he hadn't jumped on it yet. So he hesitated and didn't want to jump on, which is okay because he noticed he was already at the top of the wave and not in front of it, right? So with the Prism, I'm going to get how he was saying, the base and all that stuff. See what happens, what people like me who had been in the industry for a while, when everybody was jumping on Prism, people like me and some of the other whales, we were jumping on RPAs because we knew Prism and all that stuff was catching. It was 2-to-1 over the RPA. We were just waiting for them to evolve to a point to where they started letting go of the Prism, the tops and base. Then they would jump on. As I had mentioned to Guy, Sasha's friend, who was nice enough to introduce me to at the show, I was saying, hey, these LeBron rookie autos, right? Non-patch rookie autos, they're way undervalued compared to the Topps Chrome refractor. And now over the past week, since the show, literally since the show, you've seen a lot of people start coming back around, Follow what these seasoned vets are doing. Just pick their brain behind the scenes and they'll show you, hey, what's going to be popular, what's going to take off. Now, if you can jump in front of the Prism, the waves on some of these other players, do that. Make your 2, 3, 4, 5 X. Cash out and roll it over to where the other guys are, the stables.
I've gotten a ton of Instagram messages about us having to basically respond, get our take on this. So Vegas Dave put out a video, I believe 2 days ago. He basically, the gist of it is basically that he believes the sports card market will crash in 2024. He was referencing, all the all-time high prices that we're seeing currently today. And it seemed like he was trying to get the narrative of Vegas Dave versus Gary Vee and trying to get a response back from him. I just want to go around the room and just, have a nice little conversation about what you guys thought about the video, thoughts on what he said, if there's any truth to it, and just get your guys' perspective overall. Shaya, if you want to go first and throw it down for us.
For sure.
Great.
I do 100% disagree with this point. The market will go to quote unquote zero in 2024. Although I disagree with this point, there was one major point I did agree with, and that is the manipulation that is going on with certain cards currently in the industry. I think that if you do not see the drastic rises in such a small period of time across the market in various different cards, you just got to do more research. You got to see, obviously we're in a point in the market, there's more money, more people, but there's obviously an extent to this. The LeBron Chrome, which is one I believe is highly manipulated, went from 15K, one auction from Pro Obscene or PWCC sent that to 30. And that was really the first thing that sent the rocket flying. From there, prices just continue to have risen. And now it's I believe, 40K card. I've seen multiple people listed for 40K. And both listings I've seen within the past couple of days haven't sold at 40K. So this is one major reason, as we were talking about previously, we are not in front of the wave anymore with these LeBron Chromes, with these Kobe Chromes.
Yeah, but you made money off LeBron Chromes.
I'm not saying I didn't. I'm saying to the person
so
that
you made money off of it though.
I did. I'm not saying I lost any money on my LeBron.
You won.
I won. No, I'm talking about getting into Chromes now.
Okay.
I'm talking about buying in now.
Gotcha.
Right now is not the right time. The wave is either over our head or about to crash. So obviously the market has a point where it's very complicated. We don't know what's necessarily going on behind the scenes. As Vegas Dave said, he believes that there's people manipulating specific auctions, backdoor deals, this and that. I'm sure that they're present. I don't know to what extent. And I'm sure Sasha loved when he trashed Pokemon on the video. So I'd love to hear his response to Vegas Dave trashing Pokemon on the YouTube video.
He called him Pokemon.
Pokemon. Yeah.
Pokemon.
I'll say this, and we touched on it in the last episode. I think there's a big difference between manipulation and fake comps. If you think one hedge fund going and buying, 500 LeBron Chrome 10s on eBay is manipulation, then that's manipulation. But that's real sales. And I think that's what's happening right now, because when these hedge funds and fractional ownership companies and just rich people, they just want the card, right? So yes, could it go down to 30,000, 25,000, even 20,000 in the next 3 months? Sure. But do I think over the next year and 2 years, it's going to pop off even more? 100%. I think with the whole Vegas Dave Pokemon thing, I think Pokemon, this is all I'm going to say. Pokemon First Edition Red Cheeks is a pop 2 something card. Pikachu's the most worldwide well-known Pokemon card or Pokemon character. And it's sitting on eBay for $8,000-9,000 right now. I think that card is actually going to be a 30 to 50K card over the next year.
Nice.
So that's all I'm going to say. And I think Vegas Dave will be right on the base stuff. By the time 2024, like Prism base, like that sort of stuff, I think all of us know here, 85% of that, when the market gets soft, is going to be worth absolutely nothing. So I think he's going to be able to use that as a way to say he's right, and leverage himself. And also at the end of the day, Vegas Dave's brand is built off of people like us talking about him, right? So he needs to say stuff that will have that happen. And I think that's just what he's doing right now as well.
To jump on, I would say that's pretty much right. What I agree with, Sasha. One thing that I want to say about just markets in general, and I'm not like an economist or anything like that, but if someone's willing to pay something for the card at that given time, that's what it's worth. Now, if 6 months from now it goes down a little bit because people decide they're not willing to pay that, then that's a different story. But if there are a lot of people that are coming into this hobby right now with a lot of money and they're willing to pay 30, 35, 40K for LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 10, they're willing to pay 700K for an MJ. Well, that should make all the people that own the cards that would rather have 700K than the MJ, let them go over time. So we're going to see those cards come to market. And then if we run out of buyers here at 700K and people decide they don't want to spend that much money, the card's naturally going to go down. So whether it was manipulated or not, I think a natural market will correct that. So if that's what he's referring to, sure. To strip away everything from the message that he's trying to send, all the theatrics, his history, everything like that, if I'm just trying to distill the message that he's sending in that, I would say he's not totally wrong. It's a little bit exaggerated. And I'd say it's a pretty general blanket statement that anybody could kind of say. And there's enough ways to where what they're saying can be covered easily. So like by 2024, all he needs is the natural cycle of prospects to tank. And he's right. All he needs is certain cards to tank by 2024, which they just will because people don't want them, whatever. So I wouldn't say that what he's saying is totally wrong, but I think that I'd be very gullible to think that there wasn't other motives there, that he wanted to get people talking about it. He wanted the natural attention that him saying that would bring, and that he packaged it up in a very theatrical way to give it to us to cause a lot of emotion and uprising and stuff like that. But I would say overall, I agree with you what you say, Sasha. And I would say, I don't disagree with him. And I just, I like what Golden said about it too. Like, he's entitled to his opinion. He can say whatever he wants. Doesn't mean he's a bad person, yada, yada. Nobody needs to like bash him or hate him for it. But yeah, that's what I got.
Here's my opinion on it, really. You've been doing it long enough. I'm 42, right? I'm older than some, younger than some. No market has ever crashed. People say, oh, the stock market in 2008. Yeah, it went down. But if you look at it from the macro aspect of life, from a 30,000 foot point of view, in the grand scheme of things, it does this, and it'll come down, and then it goes up. The market now is twice now what it was, before the crash of 08. Markets dip. That's just what they do. They come up, down. Every market, like the stock market, has never gone to zero in my lifetime. It's not going to. The card market here is not going to go to zero. The cards across the board, I would bet my entire life savings and my life that cards across the board aren't going to zero. Even if there's a global catastrophe, there's still going to be people paying for the high-end ones somewhere. On that, he said Gary Vee was wrong about Jordan's hit 1 million. He said, Vegas said he thinks Jordan's to go past 1 million.
Yeah.
But then followed up with the card market's going to crash. Well, you got to pick one. If Jordan's if they go well past 1 million, is that right before they hit zero? You can't say that they're going to keep going past what Gary Vee's expectations are, but somehow then turn down to go to zero. No cards are worth zero. You look at Burbank cards, they sell cards worth 10, 15, 20 cents, $1 cards. Like you couldn't tell me that a LeBron exquisite RPA is going to be worth $5. There's no, I mean, there's no way like that couldn't physically, we would all have to die as human species in order for that to go to zero. Somebody's going to pay a lot of money for some of these cards, you know? So that's kind of my thought on it is, you know, I'm not saying that the market isn't going to have ebbs and flows. You'd be a moron not to predict that. I mean, that's like me saying every one of us is going to sometime die. Yeah. That's good observation there. You know, that's kind of my take, you know, and I like Vegas Dave. I talk to him behind the scenes a lot. We talk, message each other, you know, he's entitled to his opinion. I will say this though, the easiest way for cards to go down to zero is light them on fire. You want to make a card worthless? Light it on fire. Honestly, my opinion.
Or it could make it go up because there's just
it could, right? The one
go up and
there's one less on the market.
And this is my opinion through my aspects of life, right? This is my take. Man, if you really were trying to prove a point, take those cards, and if you think they're going to be worth zero, auction them off. Do that Jordan sticker rookie raw, even if it's an 8 or 7, auction it off and give that money to charity, right? Like give that money away to somebody in the streets or something. You know, I mean, there's plenty of people that need help, or just working class people that just aren't paying the bills because of COVID or because of all these things going on. I mean, you're going to burn, he's just lighting $100 bills on fire. Bro, there's people that need that, man. Good, honest, hardworking people that really aren't trying to milk systems, that are just putting forth their effort and can't feed their kids. Bro, you're just burning hundreds. Come on, man. Look, I'll listen to what you want to get me to listen to what you say. How about you invite me to go make some meals for the homeless people? Or you going, hey, I don't think these cards are going to be worth anything in 3 years. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to donate them to charity, let them auction it off, and let them give that money to people that truly need it. I'll tune into your stuff. I'll wake up listening to your stuff. You do that.
Yeah.
You know, that's in my take.
I think that it was more of a marketing thing for him, right? Like, yeah, him lighting that up, it's going to get us all talking about it on the show.
You saw the intro too. The intro was just him, like, you know, shaking hands and like being in like photos with celebrities and athletes and everything. I'm sure he's a great guy when you get to know him and stuff, but he seems like he seems like he definitely he's trying to compensate a little bit.
I mean, he's a great, I've got nothing negative to say about him personally. Like, I mean, I've spoken to him, you know, we message each other on Instagram. Like, he's never been disrespectful. I've never been disrespectful to him. For me, as somebody who's looking for good content to listen to, I understand the whole flashy aspect, and I understand trying to get people to watch and tune in. But if you're really trying to make a difference, I think over time, if you want to make that flash in the pan, like he did, I tuned in and watched the whole thing with him and Stevie Aoki when they busted that box and they were donating half of it. Dude, that got my passion. That actually touched my heart. I made sure that I was home. If I wanted to watch that thing, it became important to my life for that day to do that, to watch that, because if you're going to make $1 million, you got this $250,000 box of cards, and you've become so successful in life that you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do something positive for this. Dude, I'll tune in 100 times out of 100. You'll get all my attention. Because I think that's awesome. If you can make $100,000 a year on cards, and you're like, hey, look, I'm going to spend 10,000. Let's just go walk around and help people out. You know, kids that can't, you know, parents that can't afford their kids for Christmas and stuff. Let's go buy them some Christmas presents. Dude, I'll buy cards from you all day. I'll cut you deals. You know, I'll follow you to the end of the world. You show me that, you know, sorry.
Amen, bro.
Is it crazy for everybody here to, like, when we went to the Dallas show, like it was really like a true representation of like, wow, cards are really actually becoming cool. Like, is that weird to think about where like, you know, like somebody having a Jordan Fleer 10 or 9, like that's something that like you could show off, if you will, and people will view that as like, just like something high end and cool and like interesting to have. Over maybe even like a nice watch, like, you know what I mean? Like it's weird to think about, or a car, like a nice car. Like, no, I don't want that Benz. Like, I want a Jordan Fleer rookie. Like, is that interesting to like mind boggle that now? Because like, you know, like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years ago, Eric, for you, like you're maybe going to these shows and it's viewed as nerdy or not cool, right? But now it's just like this hype beast type thing that's going on. I just think it's fascinating.
I had a guy so I've owned like 6 Dodge Vipers and 65 Shelby Roadsters. I was big into cars. One of my Viper buddies, I saw a video somebody sent me of him that invited him to a card show with us, right? He's got a Lambo, really good friend of mine. He was like, man, I'd rather run around butt naked in the middle of the winter in Texas than go to a card show, because some people still look at it as that nerdy, dorky thing.
Yeah.
But for me, I love the fact that people, like Sasha mentioned, it's parlaying into becoming a museum. So the fractional share companies eventually will display all the items they have. They're going to build these micro museums to go see them. That's what they're doing with these items. Once they procure enough items, they're going to have them in displays in museums, and they're going to be next to Bear Bricks and watches and Burks. So it's going to be the Gen X and Z and the millennials. Their museums and what they consider art is different than me. I'm a Rembrandt fan, right? I'm big in Rembrandt. So what I consider art is different than the new generations. So this is the segue of what we have at these shows, eventually going to end up in museums and those type of industries. In regards to the humanitarian aspect Sasha touched on, I think it's awesome that there is one central location to where we don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, you're white, you're black, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, or wherever you're from, whatever your sexuality is, we can unify to the point to the political conversations almost never come up. Those conversations, we meet each other and we look right past them. Now we might look past that because, I want to make money, you got a card that I want, right? We can look right past that. But for whatever reason, and normally we might not even agree and get along, but we just push right past our differences. That's the most beautiful aspect of these card shows. You see all this negative stuff on Facebook and the news and all, bro, you can have everybody have different points of views and religions and races in one building. Not only do we not argue with each other, we will look after your stuff. If you walk to the bathroom, I'll look after your stuff. If somebody tried to snag something from Sasha, I don't even know him, I would tackle that dude. Like I go out of my way to defend your property.
That's my man right there.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
no,
right,
I know,
I will go out of my way to defend your property. And it's weird because it's happening on a subconscious level. All these things are these subconscious acceptability natures that we are now accepting each other as human beings with differences have been pretty much put on the back burner and turned around a worm for the past couple of years, right? But we blow through that in our subconscious now. We now don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. We don't care what race you are, what gender you are. We actually, not even weirder than that, like you will do $10, $20, $50,000 transactions with somebody and you can be hardcore left, they can be hardcore right. But at that point, you're even and you don't care. And you can never meet that person. You just blindly trust them. It's a beautiful thing to watch, man. If you step back and look at it, sorry.
No, I love that,
mean,
man. I was going to say,
Coleman.
just at the shows, it's like, you get in a booth with a bunch of people and it's like you meet them right there on the spot. You're at the same booth as them, the sellers and stuff. And it's like by the end of the weekend, you're like best friends. And I mean, like you didn't even know them before. And within a couple of days, because, like you just take ownership of their things. They take ownership of yours as far as looking out for them and everything. And then, it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
One of the first, I think, conversations we had, Eric, you were talking about how the card industry is a really great representation of capitalism working, because, and also the trust that comes in, like you just mentioned, right? Like if you're trying to get a big card and you got to wire somebody money, you don't have the card, like there's a big trust that comes into that factor in the collecting world. That's actually scary. Like if you go to any other market and you say, hey, look, you're going to wire me 6 figures and then I'm going to send you the card. Like they would say, like, get out of here. Like, what are you talking about? But in this industry, that's normal.
And not only that, I'm just I don't know any of y'all extensively in your personal life. Most people I meet wouldn't send half their family the amount of money we send each other blindly. Most people wouldn't trust. Right. See, Coleman said they were like, hell no. And instantly you're thinking, nope, I wouldn't trust that person, the aunt, uncle, cousin, whatever. You're like, I would give them, if I give them 10 grand, I know it ain't getting back. I know I'm not getting much interest. Hell no, I'll be lucky to get half of what I loaned them back, right? Here, like you can have some, and that's why I talk about the relationships, because the capitalism only has one downfall, it's greed, right? So if we can curtail the greed aspect, well, then we can actually watch capitalism flourish in its most beautiful manner, right? I mean, that's what I was telling Sasha in that conversation. Dude, you can watch capitalism right now because it's based on trust. It looks past the differences, looks past your age, all that stuff. And as long as there's a friendship and rapport and we don't get excessively greedy, bro, this could be a beautiful learning lesson as people who evolve. I see the younger people, who are in their late teens, early 20s, man. And man, I can't wait to look back 3-5 years from now when they blow past me and they're worth more than me. I hope they do, man. I'll be disappointed if Sasha in 5 years isn't worth more than me. In 3 years, I'd be disappointed, because I see some of these younger guys that got grind, man. They're working on their character. They're working on their trust building. They're working on the Instagram, the feed, social media. Dude, these guys are grinding. They're putting forth the work, doing the research. They're putting in that work, man. And I can't wait to look back and to see them be more successful than me. I'll be honored. I will absolutely be honored. Where most people in capitalism and the working class, they have a negative connotation, or they look at you negative if you pass them in life. I'm going to, for me, if you're around me, I want everybody to be happy when people pass them, because they're becoming successful and they're becoming entrepreneurs, man. They're living the American dream. That's what we're here for, right? That's the American dream. Chasing American sports, little bitty cardboards,
Yeah, I think there's I'm excited to see more people that have that mentality and that mindset, just because, I know that a lot of people, I'm worried about greed too. I'm worried about greed. You mentioned it in that podcast, greed setting collapse of industry. And I'm a little bit worried about that, because, I'm stoked to see Sasha and Shaya, run laps around me and stuff like that, when like a year and a half ago, maybe I was a little bit ahead, especially because Sasha was just jumping in and stuff. But yeah, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but
what do you think, Shaya?
Shaya's like, I'm gonna pass all these homies.
Yeah.
Shaya's like, I'm outie, dude.
No, but I mean, Shaya, these people, these younger, like Shaya and Sasha and stuff, and even you, Coleman, dude, I think I can't wait to see not where you are monetarily, but as men, right? As people,
100%.
and the relationships that you cultivate. And here's the most beautiful aspect. I had people reach back to me like 6 months or a year or two later, like, Eric, man, he sold me that card for like $1,000, $1,500. I sold it for 20 grand. And they start talking about what they did with that money, right? Like, you're changing people's lives, man. You have the opportunity. I would never have been able to make Sasha $30,000 before I sold him that PSA 9. Like, that opportunity, the man upstairs would have never probably afforded me that opportunity to one transaction change somebody's life for the rest of their life, right? And you can do this almost monthly with people. You can help them. That's why I try to do little good deals to each other for people. Because, dude, wait till y'all are in it 5 years. People come back and they're like, man, dude, I bought this house. I'm able to afford a family now. I bought this car for my wife. Or once you start seeing the true fruits of your compassion and the way that you've helped these people in their life, dude, other than owning your own company, most people go their whole life and never have the chance to help another human being the way that we help each other,
Where do you guys think that, the industry's grown a ton. It seems like we're at the peak in terms of historically, but what do you think needs to happen, over the next couple years to have this industry grow even more? Is it new technology coming into play? Whether it's new money, whether it's new product, like, what do you think needs to happen for this industry to keep on developing and growing in a positive direction?
I'll make it quick. Eventually, y'all are going to be, especially the younger guys, because y'all are sharp as a tack. Eventually, you're going to see cards that are 250,000 or less, and that's going to be traded at the shows and bought, sold, traded at the shows. And then simultaneously, you'll be trading cards with shares of cards that are $250,000 up at the fractional share companies. You'll be card dealers as well as stockbrokers, in essence. So if I have a card worth 150,000, you might give me $100,000 card and 50,000 in shares in a Jordan rookie, right? So you're going to be multifaceted entrepreneurs, and it's going to happen. At fractional share companies, if they work, and if, let's assume that everything goes to fruition, they work. If those become the new norm, that's what's going to have to happen. All the Jordan rookies are going to be dried up. They're going to be bought and sold by whales, people worth hundreds of millions or more, and we're going to be able to own pieces of them, and we'll trade percentages of them as parts of deals in the future. That's where it's going to go. In order for it to work, that's how it's going to work. If fractional share companies work, that platform progresses, that's what's going to eventually happen.
I was always thinking it'd be interesting to see if like high-end cards also could be just a source of payment, like almost like crypto in a way. like, oh, you want to buy this house? Oh yeah, here's like just trade it. Like I'd be interested to see if that would ever end up happening, or maybe somebody's already done it. Like I don't know. Be intriguing to see.
I think it's probably going to get more commonplace. I mean, like obviously within the community. I mean, like it never really got close, but I was trying to get Ryan from Burbank's car, and it was probably going to be for a LeBron card.
His car?
Yeah.
No way. That's funny. I didn't know
Yeah. I
that.
mean, like I was after it for a second, and like we joked about trading a LeBron for it, but I mean, like it probably it could have easily been something like that.
There was a guy in one of the groups that traded some 86 Fleer stuff for a Corvette. He got a Corvette in return. You know, it was last year. I think it was an 8.5 set or something like that. I forgot his name, but he traded it for like a 2016 or 2017, maybe 15 or 16 Corvette, you know, and he took a loss, but he said he'd made so much money. He wanted the Corvette, and it was somebody that was willing to. And I commented because I had just sold I had two twin turbo Dodge Vipers that I put twin turbos on them. Right. And I had just sold my second one, and half my buddies are like, you sold your car to buy baseball cards? Because they didn't know that I did this on the back burner. Right. So half of my friends don't know what the other half does know about me. And so I had just sold my Viper, twin turbo Viper, for like 150 grand to put that towards cards again. And so to see that guy do the other end of it, I was like, hell yeah, dude, chase whatever you want to do. You know, it's cool. You know, he gave somebody like a booklet of cards and got a freaking Corvette. It's awesome.
It's unreal.
Do you guys think crypto also will be like a more normal source of payment for cards going forward?
It has to be. It just has to be. I mean, so I've been doing crypto for 6 years extensively. Coinbase Pro, Bread Wallet, probably the top 4 or 5 different cryptocurrencies. With Coinbase Pro, you're looking at about 0.4% either way. Not only that, but with Coinbase and Coinbase Pro, you can buy, they're called USD. So you can transfer your money and never really, so your money turns into United States dollar. It's 1-for-1. There's no fee. Just transfer your Coinbase Pro, right? And then you can digitally send people United States dollar or any dollar denomination. But even if you wanted to do crypto for crypto, it's 0.4% for the like if I say I put in 100 grand in Bitcoin or transfer 100 grand, and then I transfer you Bitcoin. When you sell that, it costs you 0.4% and 0.4% on the buy. So you're only out 0.8 to 1% total. So it has to be the new norm. I used to teach classes for impoverished communities back in Texas before I moved to Hawaii. I would teach people how to set up their Coinbase Pro account, how to link it to a Bread Wallet, how to transfer funds to and from. And then so that way they could monitor and watch how you download. There's a thing called Bitcoin Tracker, and you set the percentages. So mine's set between I rotate it from 2 to 3%. So I get a text message every time Bitcoin or whatever coins that I have allocated to the tracker, every time they move. So I'm not constantly able to watch it. I can hang out at the beach with my family, do whatever I want. So as it moves, I get notifications and when to buy and when to sell. And I used to teach people how to do that. I've been waiting for 5 years for the industry to get up to this point. So that way I could kind of get them to learn. Because if you want to evolve to the next level, bro, cards, how do I say this? Crypto and cards, you don't have to declare them no matter where you're at in the world, right? You get on an airplane with 10 pounds of gold, trust me, you have to declare it. You go international from here to other countries with $500,000, you have to declare it, right? You transfer money from one bank account to the next, international, you have to declare it. You get on an airplane with $2 million in cards, they think you're an idiot. They don't know what it is. and no, dude, I literally flew to the Dallas show with my cards inside a cardboard box, inside a Target bag. You know, my Pelican case, that was checked. I checked it because it was too big to carry on, right? I checked that. They went through it. They opened it up and looked at that cool note. They went and looked in it. It was completely empty. I walked on the plane with a Target bag, and inside of it was a cardboard box with a lot of good stuff in it. You know, and you could travel the world in that, man. And cards, the cool thing is cards are commodities. The right cards are liquid in any country, right? You see that Messi mega cracks or like Ronaldo mega cracks, Jordan PSA 10, that's legit. Some high-end cards, 6 figures, 52 mantles, you know, dude, those are liquid in any place on earth, right? You can get gold in return, you get crypto in return, whatever. For you to be truly, unless you go to space, right? For you to be a true self-sufficient entrepreneur anywhere on the planet, bro, you embrace crypto and you embrace cards, you might be moving next door to me in Hawaii.
I love it. I love it.
I feel like I'm taking like a massive like life lesson, like finance lesson. Like this is amazing.
I'm about this close to moving to South Korea in a couple of months.
No way.
I'll talk to y'all about that later.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like if we keep rolling, there's just too much good info giving to the people. So I'm going to end it there. But I appreciate, Eric, for you coming on. You dropped a fantastic amount of knowledge and value for viewers. I feel like people are going to be rewatching this video maybe 3, 4, 5 times. So I appreciate you coming on, Coleman. Once again, appreciate you, Shaya. Once again, my man. Appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video and comment below any questions you have for the next episode. I'll make sure to put Eric's links to his Instagram page below so you guys can connect with him as well as Coleman and Shaya's. And then if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you follow us on there and stay tuned for the next episode. And I appreciate everybody for coming on.
Thank you so much.